So guys, welcome to Full Studio. You're now looking at the complete project file for Swing, Futura, Modus, and Convexity, out now everywhere, courtesy of Circus Records. Jay, have you seen the finished project yet? Because you were sending stems my way, and then I arranged them all here, but I don't think you've actually seen the project inside,
No, not
inside file, right?
finished.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think I have. So this will be a learning experience for me too.
All right. The key is D. The tempo is 150 BPM, and the total working time for this project is just shy of 40 hours on my end, and at least just as long, I reckon, on Jay's side. So yeah, this took a long time. Further evidence of this is the fact that this song was actually started more than 2 years ago on June 12th, 2021. Now, I was actually in the middle of my internship period to finish my sound studies. I was at a studio in Valencia that did sound for video games, and while I was working on a project for them, I had this little idea, which eventually turned into the first few bars of the first drop. And when I first listened to it, I was like, well, this is interesting. Basically a detuned sine wave and a bass. Is that it? Is that all my brain can come up with? Long story short, I was actually a little bit skeptical with this idea at first. I thought it was the not good kind of weird, but then I thought about it, or didn't think about it, as I think would be a better way to put it, because I felt like, hey, this is weird, yes, but screw it, why not? Let's give this a chance. So I kept working on the first drop, and I was slowly gaining more and more confidence about it. The song was starting to grow on me. It went from bad weird to okay weird to like cool weird. And then just as I was getting on the groove with it, I stopped working on it for a solid 8 to 9 months. This project was on hold. So now it's the year 2022. I'm fresh off Near Protocol 7. And Jay and I had already been making jokes about her modus and convexity when. But then on February, I remembered this song exists. And I was like, wait a minute, this is perfect. We should collab on this. So I send them the tune, they agree, and we go to town. At this point, I have absolutely zero clue what to do after the first drop, so the reinforcements arrive, and they come up with this sick, nasty jazz solo for the breakdown, and it just, like, revitalized my faith in this song, really, if you will. And from that point on, everything went fairly smoothly. We did have a bit of a break on it during the summer, I believe, and then finally on November 2022, Swing Futura is now a finished song. Shortly after, Circus shows their interest in releasing it for July of 23, which is what we're in right now. And the project becomes frozen in time until this moment where we reopen Pandora's box. So, Jay, if you have anything to say before we kick things off, speak now or never. If not, we shall begin.
You gave a pretty accurate history.
I mean, it would be kind of.
I mean, like, you know, most of the history of this project was definitely on your side. But yeah, most of the stuff that I did was definitely in the breakdown with the jazz solo and everything, and I did quite a bit of the sound design in the second drop.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, like from the stems you sent for the second half of the song, I also used a bit of it in the first half as well to like add to what I already had. So it's kind of like the first half is like 70-30 split between modus and convexity, and then the second half will be like 30-70. So it's basically like the other way around. So like slowly goes from mostly modus to mostly convexity. But I think like it still makes for this like very cool mix of the two styles really. So yeah, I could totally hear the convexity energy in the second drop. Yep, Shadow, you absolutely could. It's a very seamless blend. Thank you, guys. So, barring anything else, wow, that is well, to be fair, there are a lot of clips in the project, but we shall get this started from the very beginning. So what we just hear, those are, well, some roads, but where do they come from? I believe it's from an East-West pack called East-West Goliath and it has like a very big assortment of instruments. So it's like, so it doesn't get too much into detail of any one instrument. It's just so it's just a collection of a lot of instruments, but like not too much in detail. So I didn't really need much of a detail for the Rhodes because, well, they're just that, Rhodes. But they did have some awful pops here and there on every like hit and note. So I had to process these quite a bit. And there's so it's no longer here in this project because it's bounced. But basically what I did is I ran it through like at least 4 different instances of mouth declick isotope RX. This is basically like black magic here. It basically gets rid of the clicks, but just one wasn't really enough, so I had to do another one, and then another one, and then another one, until I finally got it to sound like this. Does it work like a jagged transient shaper, basically, but like the other way around? So it's like a reverse transient shaper where like it actually gets rid of the clicky, the transient thingies, and then I basically just bounced the first chord. I put some reverb on it and I reversed it. So yeah, that's just that. So it's mostly dry, save for a little bit of Pro R on like 0.2 second reverbs, like very, very short. Makes it feel like you're actually playing the instrument like in a room. And then we'll have lots of time to play with the reverb later on. So here's like very quiet, and then it will eventually go up in volume. See how it's getting louder here? So there's 2 instances of reverb here. One of them is super short, and the other here. See how it's starting to slowly go up? There it is. And it's basically being used for the fade-in swells here. So this is it. And then basically what's happening is some bounced bass jams. This is one of them. I believe I did this bass jam in a stream, or maybe not. I have no idea. This is from more than 2 years ago, but yeah, it sounds a little something like this. So I basically took some growls and I threw like 1,000 glitch effects on it just to see what it would sound like. And a bunch of them made it into this song. Like that one and this one. And then this one. But I did make sure to resample them in a way that like made rhythmical sense. So bam bam bada bam ba bang, right? And the same thing here. And some more here. And then I used, I believe, the power step from Supernova. The Supernova sample pack demo track. This is just a sample from there. And then this is actually a stem from Convexity. There it is. I believe I time warped this a little bit. It comes from here, basically. That's the original one. I do have a crystallizer on it. And then there's this one. It's basically just the same thing, but just faster to make it fit within the triplets feel of the intro. Ba, 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 right? All right, and then we have some water foley. Once again, sampled from my sample packs. And a nice, thick, fat sub drop to kick things off, basically. And then I basically replicated what I had going on in the Rhodes. spin the piano. I do still have some Rhodes going on here. Basically just doing some support chords, and then there's just the piano going. So let's solo the two parts together. This is just the piano. It takes a long time to autosave. That's just the piano. Some like semitone movements in there. Yeah, these have a bit of a time delay. Ba 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 bam. And the chords basically go like dun dun dun. So this is the tonic sharp mediant, and then just regular mediant. I believe this is flat supertonic and just tonic again. Sharp subtonic, and then regular subtonic. It's a lot of like chromatic movements, you could say. Yeah. Well, that is what they are. And then there are some Rhodes in here for supporting chords, as I mentioned. And they also do some voices of their own. They go like this. They do the lower voices. Na 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 na. And then there's a bit of a call and response effect here between the piano and the Rhodes. So the piano do this, na 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 na, and the Rhodes respond with na na na, right? Na 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 na, and that's how the intro goes. And there's a bunch of layers to support this, and then on the end of phrase chord, you could say there's some fade-ins like this. So it's a razor, and then some hyperverbs. And that's that. And then if we couple this with another stem from Convexity, I believe. So I basically took the stem from the melody and the breakdown. Na, 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 na. So here in the breakdown, I did do another instance of a crystallizer here. But here in the intro, I just took that and I made sure to like rechop it, retime it into the groove that I had going on here. Dun 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 dun. Right. So can you explain us a little bit, Jay, of like how you made this sound?
That little pluck thing?
Yeah, sure.
So I believe a lot of the like the breakdown sounds, like the pads and the plucks and whatnot, are mostly just basic Serum stuff, and a lot of it is just like stuff that I messed with from, I think, like a chill wave pack that I found on Splice, because I mean Splice of course has presets as well as samples. There's a lot of presets that I found through Splice and just kind of messed with. And so that particular pluck is something from, I don't even remember what the pack is. It could have been, okay, so there's a pack called Vaporwave for Serum. It's by Go-Go-I.
Go-Go-I?
Yeah, it's like G-O-G-O-I.
Go-Go-I?
They make a lot of, yeah, Go-Go-I.
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 Go-Go-I. Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, Vaporwave for Serum is a pack that I kind of messed with. Especially for this song, and yeah, it's by Go-Go-I or whatever. And there wasn't really much other processing on it besides just Valhalla Supermassive, which I use a lot. I use Supermassive like quite a lot on stuff like this, and like, you know, background elements or like synthesizers, stuff like that. Very occasionally use Shimmer. Not very much, though. Supermassive is like the primary Valhalla plugin that I use. So, yeah, the pluck is pretty simple. It's just like a pluck from that Go-Go-I Vaporwave pack from Splice. Kind of messed with stuff. I don't remember what I messed with because, of course, this is a very old project. But yeah, just took that, did stuff with it in Serum, applied Supermassive to it, messed with that, and that's pretty much it for that plug. And
I believe the chat should have a war about how to pronounce Gogoi or Gogoi.
Gogui.
Guys, go to war on chat.
Supermassive is free. It is indeed free.
It is free. I did use it on like very few occasions. I believe it was used once in Superluminal, and like that's about it. I never really used Supermassive since. I don't know, because I just used Tora Burb. That's all I need really. Some more waterfall-y, some D-pads. Well, this is actually anything but a D-pad. It's more of a like high-pass 808. So this is just a harmonics layer for the sub bass. It basically enriches the like pure sine wave that sits further down. And this basically has a high-passed square and a high-passed saw, but not high-passed in the general sense, but rather it has its fundamental removed. So it's basically a perfectly key-tracked high-pass. So like no matter which note you play, the high-pass will always be at the right frequency, because it's not really a high-pass. It's just that there is no fundamental that goes to the pure sine wave instead. There's there's that sub. And even still, this sub still has some harmonics going on here, as you can tell in the spectrum view. And how about the drums? Well, the kick is just... I believe I made this kick just for Swing Futura. It might just be a revamped version of another kick that I may have in a sample pack. And yes, this is a volume snare. Say what you want. I did switch back and forth between the volume snare and like just like a finger snap. That was the word. I forgot the word. Yeah, no pep moduses during the breakdown. There's the channel alerts are off for the duration of the breakdown. So yeah, because this is serious. It's a Christian breakdown right here.
We're not messing around.
We're not messing around. Yeah, no. So yeah, I basically just recorded this myself, and then I just slapped a bit of a chorus with like 40% mix on it, bang on, and then just a disperser, to make it basically like feel less raw. And that's that. There's a closed hat going on with the beat. This is from Hypernova, I believe. And then this is just the classic AU5 crash. This is the acoustic one, not the huge. But the huge does happen later on, as you can see here. And then there are some grooves, I believe, here. Some micro textures. These are yours, I believe, right? These are yours.
Yeah, those are. So yeah, I can say something about those. There's a pack. So it's by Richard Devine, however you say it. It's called Soundmorph Modular UI Sound Pack. There's like all kinds of crazy junk in there. It's basically like modular stuff, modular effects, and it's stuff. There's folders called like calculations, data crunching, confirm tones, solo bleeps, hologram pad. It's such a cool pack.
Sounds technical.
Yeah, it's basically just a bunch of bleep loops, but they're like fantastic for background stuff, and I basically like abuse that pack. I use it so much for background stuff. But yeah, so Richard Devine's Soundmorph Modular UI Sound Pack is what it's called.
Yeah, in my case, what I use for bleep loops is this Glitch with Friends volume 2. It has a ton of like tonal and atonal like ambience, foley's, effects, and weird things.
Oh yeah, the Glitch with Friends packs are super cool. I only got them like recently and haven't delved into them super hard yet.
Like what? Like, what even is that glitch? And then I just used some like rock debris foley thing and I just reversed it, I believe, or something. Maybe, no. I didn't even reverse this. And then I just ran this through an all-pass phase, basically free disperser, but even better. And then just a filter and some parametric EQ. Dispersed rock debris is actually goated. With some dimension expander. And just imagine if you threw a resonator on this. I don't know, just saying. And then there's a chime like rim shot here. See that? Dong. This is his micro metal snare. I just had to pitch it down because it was in a different key. And we've already been live for 37 minutes, which means we better speed up. There's actually a bass from NYP7 here. This is the end of the termination bass, of the termination part of NYP7. I reversed it, and I used the end portion, the taste top bit of it. And then there's a bunch more organic layers and stuff like this. There's like some motions. I believe this is from Iser X's Cyberpunk. Oh, the Trailer's effects tools. There it is. This has some like insane motions. These are super cool. So yeah, then some more organic thingies. Another pad. Because yes. And then we get onto the verse. So I bounced these chords from, I actually don't know where. It says vocoded saws, so this might actually be just that, vocoded saws. And then I ran them through a crystallizer and EQ. Oh, wow, a very brutal looking EQ. Free disperser once again, another incredibly brutal EQ. Why did I boost the high in like at least 36 dB combined? Jesus. I just really wanted those highs to pop. Then I have a low pass for the section, for the wow, right? This is it. And then I have a crusher here, or that like tiny extra bit of 8-bit-ish high end, and a Toraverb and a Sooth for to tame some of the low mids, and then another brutal looking EQ. Wow, that is like what, a 50 dB boost on the high end. Jesus. But yeah, they sound like this in the end. Without effects, they sound a little something like this. So yeah, I
guess I can see why you boosted the highs so much. There's barely anything there.
There's barely anything there. Eventually, if you boost enough, something will appear there. It might not even be harmonics from the sound. It might just be noise, but like, hey, eventually something will appear in there. So yeah, that's that. And then there's another breakdown pad. Wow, crystallizer tail.
Yeah, it's one of mine.
Yeah. These are yours. We should maybe wait for the breakdown for you to explain all of these. So.
Okie dokie.
And then we have a couple sounds on the verse. We have a piano layer. No, we actually don't. There's a couple chorus here. They're called chorus, and they are from East West as well. It's called koto. It's basically like some ethnic instruments. Right? It's basically like Sakura in FL, but better. And they sound a little something like this. That's one layer. The other one is here. Very ethnic, very Asian, if you ask me. And then we do have a piano here. call and response between piano and the ethnic instruments. And then we have a go-go bells. Yeah, that I'm not making this up. That's what they sound like. So together they sound like this. Pretty good. We do have some chords in there. Na 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 na. So it's basically the same melody that we will have eventually in the drop. It's just that the chords, the bass line, the context is different from the context that will be in the drop. Reverse plugs, the drum bass. Not a whole lot to say about that. We have some agent sounds in here. They do have a resonator on them. Yep, I had resonator by this time, it seems. So I made a bunch of states, and I just I automated in between these states, and then eventually I just ended up with a recurring down in there. To like,
seems like at this point, Agent needs a feature credit.
Yeah. We have some sauce coming in. The basic modus sauce. You've heard them by now. And then we have the lead from the drop, I believe. This lead will eventually do the da 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 da. So this is the same lead. We'll get to that later. Wow, the scrolling is sluggish. All right, let's keep it going. And then we basically have the like the first showcase of the drops motif in full. Da na 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 na. There's a bass guitar here. Thanks CPU. Oh, that is just juicy. It's you've heard of this as well, guys. It's the infamous, the one, the only. Can I, if I actually select the pattern, there it is. It's called violin bass. Oh yeah, it's because the preset's called violin bass. I don't know why, but this is modo bass, aka modus bass. It's just a bass guitar. It sounds pretty good. Yeah, I have no idea why is it called violin bass. I guess it's because it looks like a violin, but yeah. There's actually 2 layers of this. I don't know why. They might be on slightly different settings or just to beef up the sound in some way. So a few tom fills in here. This is done in Studio Drummer, I believe. Then I bounced it, and yeah. Modus cool chords. What is this? This is like a very long sample, right? Let's have a look. Modus 11 cool chords. Oh, it's yours.
Oh yeah.
Ah, I know where this is from. Second drop. I just used it. And that's mine. That's just like a frequency shifted sound with lots of feedback on the built-in FL frequency shifter. Sounds like that. Very bubbly sound. Love it. More agent stuff. And then there's a bit of a drone here. And yeah. Let's see. There's a bit of a donk here. I'm not even sure where this is from, actually. Let's have a look. Modus and convexity. It looks like this is a bounce from somewhere. Oh.
That sounds like my dunk. Because I had...
Might be.
Yeah, because there was a dunk that was present a lot.
Yeah,
in the second drop. It might be that one.
That explains why I bounced it, because I basically just I took it and I bathed it in reverb. Done for like the so the tail would last into the first build-up. You can still hear the tail of the donk here. I have an elevator bell because yes. I have some watery basses. It's filtered, I believe. Yep. This is it. And then it's also got a long reverb tail to reverb, I believe. There it is. Then I have some displays plugs in here. These are from the outro of displays. So this is the call. Autosave. There we go. And then there's a response from these two other plugs. So it's like da da and then da da, right? And there's some more layers. Yo, wow, this is from Color Ringtone actually. We're using a bunch of basses, and then this is a bounce of the first drop with reverb. Basically, we're teasing what's about to happen. It's fairly commonplace for me to tease the drops, elements, and motifs in the first build-up. Elevator Bell is the new ska. No, it's not. The ska vocal. It's mine and only mine. So there is a sub drop here, and then there's a layer here. It's basically like the tail of the Dolby sub drop that I use and abuse every single time because it's such a great sub drop. Oh. See how it has a bit of a tail in there? That's basically what I used here. It just sounds so good. Da-da. And then I used another pad. That's what gives it that top voice. Da-da. That's that. And then the sub like glides up in here. Whoa. Whoa. Basically, we're reprising what happened in the intro. This time, though, we're letting it hang around for longer. Chopping those. I believe this is a layer that I made in Vital for Superluminal, I believe. And I just reused it there. Reusing the bass at the start of the first build-up, just a little bit longer. Yeah, whoop. Like as sort of a build-up. And then there's this effects, which I first made for an ID of mine that's not out yet, so let's not comment on that. So yeah, it came out on this track before it came out on the track that I actually made it for. This is the reverse sub drop. So it's a sub rise, I guess. Yo, he said Superluminal, guys, no way, bro. And then there's this nasty Reese. I believe I made this for NYP7. So yeah. Or NYP8. I'm not even sure at this point. And then there's the higher version of that. And this is the sustain chords part of the. It's basically this, but with a few more layers. Sounds a little bit different. And then it has a frequency shifter on these. Let's see where the mixer is. Oh yeah, have we mentioned the mixer has like 4 free tracks? That's it. Saw wave, and there's what's the frequency shifter in this? Oh, here it is. It's in the general sidechain bus. You'll see it go down here. There it is. And that's that. And then there's a bunch of layers here. This one's gated. It has a trans gate, I believe. Yep. It's on triplets. Same thing for this, I believe. And for this. Oh yeah, the Scarlet ARP, because you knew it had to be in here somehow, and that is that. That's the Scarlet ARP. So yeah, it also made it into Swing Futura. Siren Uplifter from, I believe, Hypernova. The Otama Lifter from Supernova. We made this uplifter, Jay, with an automaton.
That's awesome.
We sampled an automaton and we frequency shifted it so hard it became this.
That's incredible. Frequency shifters are goated, like, honestly.
Yeah.
I use them all the time.
And then I used some Reeses for this. Just just an octaved bass, and then the drums. There's a hats section in FPC. This is that one patch I mentioned a while back, where like I made an FPC patch with all the Xylent hats from his from Power Pack Volume 1, and I just have all of Xylent's hi-hats in just one MPC. Oh, not MPC, FPC patch. And it had to be the huge crash had to be in there somehow, and that's that. Kick roll, snares join the fun, and that is that. You have that reverse piano going, getting louder and louder. That's how you know the drop is coming. And the pre-drop is like very unassuming, just very. Dun, dun, dun. That's it. Go! I believe I resampled this from a Tokyo Machine track, and I was like, this had to be in here because it just makes perfect sense. It fits in so well. Go! Wait, no, this isn't from a Tokyo Machine track. This is also from a Xylent track. This is from Chemical, I believe. In any case, it's there. And now we get to the first drop. Finally. Go! There's actually not a whole lot to tell about this first drop. So this is usually where we spend the most time in the breakdown, but it's just a sine wave. Like that's all it is. It just has a bunch of effects in it. But like the gist of it, that's how it sounds like without any effects. It's just a sine wave with reverb. With the occasional reverb. So let's go one by one through all the effects that make this up. First of all, there's a big crush. That's what makes most of the high-end, chiptune nature of it. But we still have a long way till we get to the final sound. We then have a bit of a vocoder. There's no carrier signal going on here, so it's just what the vocodex does on its own. So yeah. Yeah, it just adds that like vocoding nature to it. And then I have a snap heap with like it was actually supposed to be 6 dispersers here, but I only kept 2. I don't actually know. Only 6. Or 6 dispersers.
I have an Ableton rack with like 10 dispersers.
Oh shit. There's actually 6 of them, but 4 of them are muted, and I don't know why. I guess I can just get rid of them now.
Better late than never.
Yep. So that's that, and then there's an OTT, because of course there's an OTT. It just makes it sound that much more punchy and tight. But it adds a whole bunch of low end that we'll get rid of later. And then we have a twin tube to saturate it even further. So at this point, it sounds a little bit ear rapey, not gonna lie. Like it is already borderlining the master at 0 dB. But we still have time to fix that. So with the parametric EQ, I caught a bunch of frequencies. Make it a bit less mid-end driven and a bit brighter. I use a crystallizer. Very, very short. It basically works more like a dimension expander than a crystallizer, really. So it has a very short delay time, and it has a very low amount of recycle, basically the minimum I could give it. So it's an extremely short effect. And then there's a Valhalla Frag Echo here. Back when I still used to use this, it is supposed to be a frequency shifter, but like it sounds a little weird for a frequency shifter. It like adds some more things in here. I don't know, man. It sounds kind of weird for a frequency shifter, but I did like what it added here. It did like this like fluttery LFO-ish kind of like vibrato to the sound. I don't know, it's kind of weird. I just liked what it did, and I slapped it in there. And then we have an effector with some delay. Very, very short. As you can see, the driver is super low. So it's just the little things. And then finally, we have a to reverb for the reverb swells. So it's not immediately on, as you can see, but it will be turned on at some points. Later on in the song, probably. And that's that. It's just a sine wave, guys. Then we just have a distorted bass layer, which is essentially a respacing serum with a bunch of distortion. This is what it sounds like. Oh, it is just a sine wave with noise. The sine wave. we're big on sine waves for this tune. It's just a sine wave with a bunch of noise, high pass, and then we're distorting the heck. Yeah, there it is. It's just that. That's all. And then with the disperser, we add this like, boom, like bubbly nature to the sound. So without effects, that's what it sounds like. And that's it. Then we just have the enriched sub bass harmonics thing, and then we have the actual sub bass. And that's that. And then we just have a kick and a snare. Very basic snare with a bit of a clap. And then a closed tad. There's not a whole lot going on in these drums. And then the occasional crash on the downbeat. And then I did add some more hats as the drop went on. So you can see the layers starting to stack up as the drop goes. All right, so let's keep it going here. There's a fill here. Okay, this is cool. So this is from the same bass jam as the intro. And the same thing goes for all of these. But then there's this. You might look at the name and go like, wait. So have you guys ever played Sonic Rush Adventure on the DS Lite? Well, on the DS in general. I just had a DS Lite. Well, I still have it with the game. Anyway, this is from the final boss of the video game, because there is the story has like two like parts to the story. So there's like the first final boss, and then there's like the final boss, which is once you get all of the Chaos Emeralds. There's this final boss, and the soundtrack has that sound at the beginning. And let me see if I can pull it up on YouTube. Deep Core Sonic Rush Adventure. This is it. As you can see, the panning is a little bit extreme. You might not be hearing this, Jay, because it's on the browser. So the panning is a little bit extreme there, but it plays in my favor, because since this is only panned to the left, I can export just the left channel. So I took the soundtrack, I put it into Audacity, I soloed the left channel, and I basically had a very like 90% isolated sample of this. And as you can see, that was very clean. And I could just use it pretty safely. And that's that. And it just fit right in because it's an A. It's a fifth. That's it. I don't know, it just works so well. It's a hyperverb here. Basically starts at high pass and then it opens up as it goes. So like there's a bit of a build up to this drop. So like there's a build up within the drop. It's kind of weird. I don't even know where this is from. It says Dune ARP in here, which is even more confusing. My assumption is this comes from Dune, from Dune 3, not Dune the movie, but like Dune 3, the synth. Looks a little something like this. I know AU5 uses it sometimes, but pretty sure I made some sound, some ARP with that, and then I just bounced it, and I put a crusher on it, and an auto pan. So it would basically go from side to side. Dune the movie, the synth. Yep. We have a pad from Color Ringtone as well. Well, this just works for any song, so why not? The bass again and the drums again. We've already gone through that, and we can see how this motif is going to develop. So it basically goes a little bit down. So instead of na 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 na, now it goes for the fifth na 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 na, and then the piano does a little detour here. Na 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 na, and there is actually some Dune 3 in this. Oh, 80s synth, along with the piano, because I am hearing the piano in there. There it is. Same thing here. And then by this point, the piano and the Dune 3 synth join the fun in the main motif. So it's like, knock knock, may I come in? And then the synth says yes. And then they all join together. Right. And while that's happening, there's a bunch of Majubilees playing here. There's some more here. Oh, it plays twice. Right, some more agent sounds. There's some Nair pad. The same distorted bass layer. Well, it's all the same thing. And what's this from? This is a sitar. I bounced the sitar. Don't ask me why, because this is 2 years ago. I don't know. And then there's a bit of a bass drop in here. And a reverse crash, which is like just doing the bridge, the transition. And the lead basically does the same as the sitar. And that's that. And we have then this sound here. In full, this sounds a little something like, well, this is the entire bass jam, so it's trying to find it there. Yeah, no, let's not do that. The full sound is this. It's just the same sound, but longer. So I chopped it up LFO style. And then I did the same with this bass here. So we have that, and we have a reverse sine blip. What? All right, let's get into the meat. One of the main sounds of this. Now, it would be absolutely great if I could tell you, well, this was made with 7 different synths and 20 different layers, and then I added 50 reverbs and resonators to make this work. No, this is not at all how it happened. In fact, it's just a bunch of samples. Again. Here's how it goes. This is, so when I make layer sounds and I bounce them, I tend to keep the original layers just in case. And this is one of those cases. This is, for the breakdown, this is pretty useful. So there is a pad from Sirac. That's one of them. Then there's another Sirac pad. And then there's a pad from Atmospherica 2 sample pack, I believe. Let's see. LSA Atmospheric Soundscapes Volume 3 from Laniakia Sounds. That's that. And then a third Sirag pad, because why not? And then a bit of a click layer, which is... What is this? It's also part of the bass jam. This entire song is just one bass jam. And then there's this... Ooh. Okay, what is this? I believe... so this one's called Rough and Morty, but this is not mine. This is from Disciple Christmas Sample Pack Volume 3. So that's that. I took this, I made it extra fast. And this will probably be very loud, so beware. Yeah, that was loud and sounded pretty dull and raw and unprocessed. But that's what I'm here for. So I took that, I bounced it, and I reprocessed it some more. And I got that. And then I basically just repitched this. See that? No. That's just a standard automation here. And then I used some more color ringtone samples as a layer. Very quiet, but it's there. And then I used this as a sustain. So it's like both a sustain and like stabby bass. So it has a sustain on the lower end of the spectrum, but then the higher part has like that like stabby nature to it. But as you can see, the bass is just a long continuous note. Here though, it will get cut the same way as the stabs to provide some variation. And see how the bass sounds more choppy now. Yeah, all we had to do for some variation was just chop up the bass the same way the synths did it. So we have the same sounds here as in the build-up, so it's kind of like a reprise. So foreshadowing, call and response, call it however you want. Set up and payoff. And then we just did this, the same sample from here, but I just repitched it. And then I did the same loop again. With a break there. Some more bass jam fillers. And that's that. So give it some more filler and variation. There's a Reese, I believe, from also Hypernova, I think. This is from my Hanging by a Thread remix from 2021, I believe. And then there's some samples from AU5's basses here in the Color Bass Pre-Save Volume 3 sample pack. I think it was. This is from a song. What was it called?
Cryptochrome.
That was it. Cryptochrome. And then there's a bunch of AU5 sounds in here. I'm not gonna lie, they do sound pretty good. They fit in like a glove in Sweet Futura. Just they just like this. Like you don't even have to think about it. It's just that. It's like they just fit. And then there's a color ringtone layer in here again. The same vital layer and then some fillers. What? And that's that. Same basis from color ringtone, and then there's a few chops from the bounced version of the drop. So I took this whole drop, I bounced it into Edison, and then I chopped this up. I added a bunch of delay so we bleed into the breakdown. Okay, so let's play through the breakdown, and from here you can kind of take over because most of this is yours, and I will take that opportunity to go for a bit of a bathroom break. Because I kind of need it.
Understandable.
There's my lead from before, just as a kind of reminder with a bit of reverb. Have a look at this jazz solo. This is mostly yours. I may have rearranged some of the chords in here. No, that might not have been in the originals. And then there's a tempo change here, which I'm not even going to bother. It's not going to play in real time. It is going to stutter. Want proof? Well, it actually didn't do so bad. AYP9 is much worse than this, but all right. So if you want to go through that, and then when we come back, we can touch on the later part of the solo. I will go for a bit of a bathroom break. Convexity, you may now take over.
So so what I mentioned earlier, a lot of these, like the two pads. There's two main pads. There's one that it's starting out with. So there's like, I don't know how well you can see the screen. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, so there's a pad 1 and there's a pad 2. So the pad 1 and pad 2 are both from that Go-Go-I, however you say that, vaporwave serum pack that I mentioned much earlier in the stream. So a lot of that kind of comes from that pack. So particularly for the pad 1, it looks like I did a Valhalla shimmer. Probably didn't do too much there. And it looks like I just had an EQ that was high passing, because I also have a bass layer. And I believe the bass, that comes from a different thing. Where does that come from? It's just another serum thing, but it's pretty, nothing too complicated. It's just like, I believe some sine stuff. And it looks like it's got like a asymmetric warp on the sine waves, and so it's just a filter and like, reverb compressor EQ, just some really basic stuff in serum. And for that I low passed it, so it's just kind of layering where the main like chord pad in that start of the breakdown is high pass and then the bass is low pass, just to kind of stack it together.
Very interesting.
Thank you.
I'm back now.
You heard pretty much everything from the past 2 minutes. So yeah, the
no, I didn't. I did go to the bathroom. I'm just back now.
I know. I'm just. Those two pads, that pluck that I mentioned earlier, those are all that Go-Go-I vaporwave serum pack, and then there's all those micro gestures.
Oh yeah, here in the drum section. Let's get to these.
So,
there's some booms. We don't talk about that. Let's get to J sounds.
Yeah, those are all that Richard Devine pack that I mentioned earlier. That Soundmorph modular UI sound pack. Lots of really cool stuff. So it's basically all I did to these, since they come pretty super dry. So all I did was put a supermassive and a shimmer on those layers.
And from what I can see, I just drag and drop them because there are no inserts on them whatsoever. So I must have deemed them worthy. There is a bit of a DDD effects here. Oh yeah, that is actually kind of important because you do hear this in the breakdown in the beginning. That like bell-ish tone in there. That's a DDD sample. King DDD. All right, let's keep it going. So there's this breakdown pad, as Jay has probably mentioned.
Yep.
I did add a crystallizer on top.
Yeah, I was
That's
like
more
trying to
flair to
find where the high parts were coming from. I was like, wait, I didn't do that.
No, I did. They do add a little bit more flair to it.
Yeah, because all I did on that was a shimmer and an EQ.
We are going to re-upload a highlights video of this, not the full thing, to YouTube. But yeah, mostly going to be on YouTube.
Okay, to answer a Cosmic Fluids question, I don't usually make my own kicks. I only make my own snares like 75% of the time. I do, use other snares from elsewhere. I guess like half of the time, but other times I do make my own snares, but don't usually make my own kicks just because I'm lazy.
Also, there's just like a plugin here in NFL called Fruit Kick. Like this can make 80% of the kicks that exist in this world. It's just there's not that much to a kick, guys. It just has to punch. That's it. Fruit kick, yeah, that exists, and it's actually good. And if you want even more, there's also like we spent some streams a while back having a look at some of the more obscure built-in FL synths and effects, and we stumbled upon this bass drum, which is actually kind of sick. Like it can make some very decent like bass drums and kicks. Yeah, so this isn't really for snares, it's just for kicks, but like, hey, this is like stay on the lookout for this one. This is actually pretty cool. And I didn't know about it until we stumbled upon it in the obscure built-in FL things stream we did a while back. So yeah, for the second half, he did add a few more extra chords. So just I could not have come up with this. I just don't have that open of a mind for these chords. These chords, I am classically trained. What can I say? These chords just do not exist in my mind. they do not exist in my tool set.
So that one chord that has a lot of tension, so that one and then one that was like probably slightly earlier. That is a major 7 flat 5. So a major 7 flat 5 is a really useful chord when you're doing jazz, because you can put a few different bass notes under it. So you can make like kind of like an altered dominant 7 chord. You can make like I can't remember what other voicings you can do, but like if you just start with like a major 7 flat 5, and even just that chord by itself sounds nice. But then, like, depending on what bass you add under it, it can change.
Major 7 flat 5. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Whoa, there's a lot of latency here. It's at like at least half a second in the piano here. So we have that would be a major 7, flat 5. Aha.
Yeah.
That does sound interesting.
Yeah, so that is what's called a rootless chord voicing. And so it's basically ambiguous. And you can basically like change the root under it. So you can make like a tritone sub of the same chord while keeping that the same on the top, just by changing the bass a tritone down, or there's a different chords that you can create out of using that major 7 flat 5 on the top, and then just changing your bass note. There's like I really I can't remember which specific chords you can make.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, fun stuff. Fun.
I do find this fascinating, though. I think about when I'm writing chords, I think more about the individual notes more than the actual name. So like when I build a chord, I'll listen to that chord, and most of the time I don't even think about what that chord is called.
Yeah,
I just like with my perfect pitch, I guess I can just like know what individual notes it has, and yeah, I'll just like build the chord just based on what I think the notes should be, more than I'm going to build a flat 5 major 7 9th with 13th, right?
Yeah, no, see, I don't even think about it that way either, because basically, like when you start getting into the extensions, it doesn't matter as much. you know, there's obviously some extensions that are more compatible with certain qualities than others. Like you don't want to use like a natural 11 with a major. You don't want to use like that. The natural extensions don't work as well with dominant chords compared to the altered extensions like the sharp 9, the flat 9, sharp 11, flat 13. So there's like, you know, stuff like that you can just like sort of keep in your mind, but like most of the time it's like vibes. But of course, you can't really get to the vibe stage until you practice the fundamentals.
To break the rules,
so,
you first have to learn the rules.
Exactly. And whenever we get a bit later, like at the start of the second, like the pre-drop of the second drop, where it's like down, 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 like where it's like every single one of those is different chords. I can't tell you what each of those chords are.
That's what I can tell is what the bass line is, and it's just going down in semitones. Dun 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 dun. That's all I can tell. But like I don't need to like know the exact naming of the chords in between. I just kind of like know what the individual notes that make them up are. Right.
Yeah.
Let's
keep. We'll get to that.
We will get to that. This breakdown might be slightly longer than expected, but do not fear, for we shall make feedback a little bit shorter. So, guys, the competition is now higher than ever. This breakdown might be 2 hours long, but we ain't doing a 4-hour stream. That is for sure, because I need to have dinner as well, and Jay is also a human being. So
I require food to live, believe it or not.
They require food to live. So yeah, the LFO pads from before, and then I believe I did this custom one, so I took this and I repitched it, or not, or maybe I just time stretched it. Yeah, I just time stretched it. I just made it slightly slower. Yeah. Okay. So it would bridge in, a little bit more smoothly with the jazz solo breakdown here. So let's assume there was no tempo change in here, so my CPU can live in peace, and and just break it down for what it is. So I did these chords myself. These are made with Synaptic Morph. Basically took this, I don't even know if the morph setup is still here. No, it's not. I don't even know what the source for this is. This is completely lost to me, but that is the source. I'm pretty sure I must have morphed Super Sauce with like some kind of growl. But I don't know, this sounds like some kind of LFO growl from Hypernova or Ultranova or something. That must be it. So I morphed a growl with some Super Sauce to make that like color-y sound nature to it. And then I added another brutal EQ to boost some of the highs on this. A soothe to tame mostly the mid-highs, which were getting a little bit annoying. That like rubbish in there. You don't need that. And then there's a filter with, again, a low pass. There it is. That gets automated. Much like in the verse in the intro. I kind of had this like wow, 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 wow. That, it's basically the same concept. Yeah. And then we have a dimension expander. Basically for a little bit of room context thing. Another disperser because yes. And then there's a delay 3. And that's that. The delay is set to high pass mode. It has a bit of a high pass in there, very little feedback, so it lasts. So it doesn't last a long time. And then this is a convexity stem. Yep, this is just a standard piano from him.
Yep. Nothing special there, just an Ableton grand piano with a Valhalla room on it.
I did reach out this some, I think. The piano is just drag and drop. It has no effect on it, but I did chop this up somewhat. Like that. And that's about it. And then there's another piano layer here, which is actually muted, it seems. Yep, that is muted. What would it have sounded like though? So I believe I ended up not using this because it will clash with the chords that I was trying to use. So yeah. So I believe I must have had a hard time trying to get these to work, and I decided not to use them in the end. But
Can't believe my effort was wasted.
no! Whoa! Convexity roasts modus live. Jesus!
No,
Can't believe it.
And like, you know, and I didn't even realize that that particular part wasn't used, or rather, it was used differently, because just the way that it was layered, you know.
Shadow says, "Dude, your EQs are crazy. They're only crazy when they're sound design." So you gotta assess like what's a production EQ and what is a mixing EQ. So if you make if your EQ is made to like shape the sound itself, that's where it tends to be like more crazy, because like say you want so like more like high brights in the sound itself, right? But then when it comes to mixing, it's much more like very, very small broad strokes, right? So when the EQs look the most brutal is in the sound design phase, which is like when a sound when it comes out of the synth, just like raw and unprocessed, it's rarely ever just how you want it. So you will have to make some adjustments later with post processing. There's an E piano here.
Yeah, it's mostly me. It's just that's Ableton's E Piano MK1 Mellow.
This has noise in it though. So is this a live recording or what?
No, it's well. What did I do? The MIDI.
Yeah, because it has noise in
I
it.
recorded that. I think I played that.
Yeah, because it has noise in it. Like this has noise from like a line-in input.
Oh well, see, like
Like
I
a
played
line
it with a
input.
MIDI controller, but that's a synth patch. I actually didn't like
Okay.
record it. So I think that the noise
like-
is built into
So like
into
you
the
did
piano patch.
you did do the performance for the piano. It's just you were playing it into a MIDI synth.
Yes, I did
Okay.
perform. Yeah, I performed the solo, but it was a MIDI controller. Yeah, but yeah, it wasn't recorded from audio. I think the noise is coming from the patch itself, and
Okay.
then all that's on it is just a Valhalla room.
I had to make some timing adjustments to fit what I had going on in the piano, so the two wouldn't have entirely different timings.
Yeah, it's completely humanized, or rather, I didn't quantize anything.
Yeah. So
It's
basically,
kind of rare. 'Cause
Yeah.
a lot of times I do quantize solos, and sometimes I don't even. Well, I feel like most of the time I don't even play the solos because I'm just bad at hand
Yeah, I
coordination.
I do think though, at least for the first half of the solo, it wouldn't have as much soul as it does right now if it was quantized. I don't think it
Yeah,
would
if
have
it's
the
just by
the same
itself
like
and
flair
it
to
has-
it.
Yeah, if it's more acoustic like this, I try to have something that sounds pretty natural, and if I screw everything up, I can at least adjust some of the notes. But
Yeah, when the hats and the piano arp and the piano arpeggios come to play though, that's where I try to like resync everything a little bit more.
yeah.
This is one of the signature Modus piano solos, I guess. It just has a bunch of arps. Na, 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 na. So this is basically, I guess, replicating what you had, or is this mine? I don't even remember if this chord progression.
I did have like a there was like a chromatic type, downward progression kind of at the end of the first half. Yeah, so
is yours.
that background thing is just that's from an Ivory pack, and I've used Ivory background effects like all the time. I haven't really found anything else that has really resonated with me more than Ivory background effects. They just work.
Sounds like me with a U5 crash cymbal huge dot wave.
Yeah, there's like just specific samples and specific packs that I just continually keep going back to. It just happens, and Ivory background effects are one of them for me.
So basically, I tried to reprise what I had going on in the verse here. Here. So the first two chords are pretty much the same, but then from that it deviates a little bit, and it starts to do all these. So it goes down in semitones, a chromatic movement here, na, 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 and it ends on the median. So I can I can basically do a 5/1 cadence from F to B flat. Dun dun. Then I had this bass line, na, 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 because Jay had some chords in there. So Jay originally had, I believe it was a cello bass for this, right? You had a cello preset for this.
Yeah, where?
in the solo here. Let me see if I can find it. On upright, I think this one.
Yes.
I think it's this one. Yeah, this is it. So if the upright was used in the final version, this is what it would have sounded like. Let's have a look. It's an upright bass. So let's say we were to take off the bass that I have. In fact, you can see I made my own upright bass here. I just left instead of yours. So sorry about that, I guess. I guess I just wanted to make it sound a little bit more realistic, because this is an actual cello from a contact library. This is actually pizzicato from.
You're more of the orchestral person, and I'm more of the synthetic person. So like a lot of my main sounds are very synthetic. I hardly use like any. I feel like the only real instrument that I try to use is a saxophone, and then obviously like electric pianos and stuff. But those are easily synthesized. I could get like a Roland D50 for those, or in this case, I just used a electric piano from Ableton because Ableton's electric pianos are quite nice. But yeah, other than that, I mean, mainly synths for me. I don't really get into the acoustic part very much.
in my case, I replicated. Basically, this part is verbatim what Jay has. It's just recreated with an actual cello with a string ensemble, just to make it sound a little bit more realistic. And here is where I went a little bit my own way, I think. Yeah, this is different than this. This was just to match what the supersaws and the morphed chords were doing. Na 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 na. Supersaws, thank you very much. Na 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 na. And to basically match what I had going on in the bass line, I just replaced this. Dun, 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 right? Just that. And then what we were basically going for is at the end, there's this part where the upright bass does na 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 na, right? And I just I took that and I did that in sub bass form, and I just stopped midway through. And there is I also did that with some engine razors. It sounds kind of funny here, but in context, I assure you, it sounds pretty good. And I just had this going up with pitch automation. And same thing here. Da-na-na-na-na-na. And then I let your E-piano finish the solo. And that finishes off the drop. And if we re-enable the tempo breakdown, CPU, please don't die. There's a bunch of impacts here. There's breath tail from A5, which is, I believe, made tonal, or just repitched to D. So ride, and a clean hit from, I believe, Cinematic Strikes Design from Boom Library. There it is. Oh, it's just so cool. Boom Library, Cinematic Strikes. And this is actually your sample, I believe.
Yes. That's just a Kashmir sweep. I abuse Kashmir sweeps. Like, there's a running joke within my fan base of like a ton of Convexity songs starting with the same sweep down, and it's right. I've just used the same Kashmir sweep to start a lot of songs just because I like how it sounds.
Right. So this build-up, the second build-up is also mostly yours. So we have some build chords.
Yes.
These are so cool. I love these.
The build chords are actually vital.
This is vital.
Yeah.
Damn.
I just pulled it up because this build and the slow drop are in a different project file for me than the breakdown. So yeah, those chords in the build are vital, and it's specifically an anomaly preset pack. It looks like a pad from him. It's basically like saws and noise. It's pretty simple, but you know, it's basically like an anomaly vital pack sound for that. And I believe the same goes for the lead too. Yeah, Anomaly's vital packs are super, super cool.
I should look into that probably then. And then there's this meow synth here. Meow, 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 meow.
I think that was me too. So from somewhere. I think that was from my other. Okay.
So
okay,
this.
Yeah, that is an Anomaly lead.
Okay, but this is basically the way you can turn a synth into a meow synth. It's just to like have a low pass on at the very start of the sound, so it starts fully opened and then it just like low passes away. Meow. That's what does the low pass filter, the meow nature to it, because the low pass filters go meow when you filter stuff out. And by this point, it's already switched to 128. So as we can see, the tempo is going down from 150, I believe, to 128. That's that. And the anomaly chords, as pointed out by Convexity. And now we have the supersauce here, which I added myself. Supersauce have a bit of a crystallizer as well going in. Saw that in the background just now. And then there's a bunch of things that I added here. So the breakdown by itself sounded like this. And I was kind of missing something here. So I did a bunch of things. I first did a layer with some tubular bells. This is East West again. And then I layered this tubular bells effect with, so you guys know my favorite console of all time is the Sega Saturn. One of my favorite games of all time is Nights into Dreams. There is this sound effect when you fly through a ring in the video game. It plays this sound, right? And I took that sound and I made a melody with it. And I bounced it, I bathed it in Toraverb, and yeah, this just goes to show Toraverb OP. So good. And then I layered this with the sound when you transform into Knights, which sounds a little something like this raw. It sounds like this. So I basically I took that. I didn't even have to repitch it because it was already in D, and I just I sent it up to the tempo. And then I might have used some more to reverb. Oh, you thought it was the lick? Damn. But yeah, no, that's the Knight's transform sound and the ring sound effect. And with the tubular bells in there. I don't know. They just fit in. And then I made a duplicate of your lead and pitched it an octave down for some additional power. And this is basically the same meow synth, it's just dry, full dry. And this is your chords as well. I made sure to cut the silence here, cut the tail here, so they sounded like very, very dry and tight. That's when I layered this sound. And now for something completely different. You guys all know that one sketch from Monty Python.
And now for something completely different.
I did make it a tad bit slower and added a frequency shifter to it.
And now for something completely different.
And this is a convexity sweep as well. Is this from Ivory too? Or?
No, that's a cashmere sweep.
All right. All right then. And this is just the typical 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. The typical drum kit pre-drop. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how you start the second drop. Most basic pre-drop in existence.
And now for something completely different.
Right. This is cool. So the second drop, as you can tell, it's mostly just Jay's stems. So this is his main bass. I might have EQ'd this somewhat, yeah, just a little bit. So this would be a mixing EQ. As you can see, it's like more broad strokes. And then there's the occasional whomp and donk. Basically as a secondary bass.
That whomp and donk are from my Convexity data cartridge on Chime Patreon.
And what about this main bass?
The main bass, oh god, this is a long processing chain. Okay. Yeah, so my sound design, like, most of the time is primarily granular. And so this was like coming from a bass jam. Because I make just a ton of bass jams by, resampling other songs, resampling other samples, just the whole thing of having your own jams folder. So I do that, and then it looks like I used M-Morph with something from Vital. It looks like just some Vital preset for like a bass. So yeah, primarily granular and morph to start out with, and it looks like I used retune after that. Okay, yeah. So I did something with M-Morph to give it a bit more of a growly type texture with the granular. And then I did retune after that. And so once I did that, there's like all throughout the drop is some obvious frequency shifter, like, yeah. So that's all frequency shifter. And then I made it wider. It looks like I did a lot of, I did LFO tool to kind of give it the shape of like the wah out. That's like all LFO tool, just envelope stuff.
Right.
10 dispersers.
Because of course. There's never enough dispersers.
Yeah, never enough dispersers. So yeah, but after that, just OTT, EQ, clipping, another EQ. Looks like linear phase after the clipping, which I do a lot as well. Because whenever I clip a sound, you get like that low end rumble because of the distortion. And so I like to do linear phase after clipping to kind of get rid of that low end rumble while keeping it, keeping the level relatively tame. Like it'll only go like 0.5 or 1 dB louder as opposed to like 4 dB louder because of you doing like a regular EQ after clipping. Whenever I want to get stuff like super loud and push it forward, while also being able to put a sub bass under it and have room for it, I'll do a linear phase after clipping. That's just something that I do a lot, and I think I mentioned that in my snare tutorial video too.
Right.
But yeah, so I believe that's the whole processing chain. It's like mainly granular and M-morph, fed into retune, automating a frequency shifter, and then just doing like the usual OTT disperser, EQing, etc.
Right. Rhaegar in chat says, I'm studying for a PC and FL Studio. I have no prior experience, so my question is what to expect and what my focus should be as a beginner. Learn, please. Learn. Learn music theory, learn a little bit of... so you're about to jump into FL Studio. That's going to be your DAW of choice from what it seems. Learn a little bit of FL Studio, the basics, the shortcuts, the workflow. Well, FL Studio has next to no workflow. The workflow is whatever you want it to be. It's very like non-linear. But yeah, it's just about so you gotta evaluate and assess what are the tools you're going to use in your day-to-day work, and just learn them from the inside out. Learn absolutely everything they do, every knob, every effect. And I know I don't know what every knob and every effect does, but you know what they say, do as I say, not as I do. But yeah, learn, please, educate. Yep. Education.
YouTube is your best friend, and you're also in a good place of watching a producer live stream, because a lot of times you know, like YouTube tutorials and stuff from like just these general like sample pack companies and like just general like learn how to produce type channels are not always gonna give you like they can give you some basic tips, but like when you get into more of like what producers are actually doing, they don't really cover that very well. The best way to learn EDM production in this style, like modern dubstep and stuff, is to watch modern dubstep people do it.
Yeah, my channel for one is like full of breakdowns. So there is a playlist just for project breakdowns there, and there's just hours of content there. So yeah, definitely go watch that. You might want to start there. So moving on with this breakdown, we have some more 85 samples. This one is pretty stretched. And then some more color ringtone stabs. And then what is this? This is a Convexity beat tag.
Yep.
Is this just a noise thing, or just...
It's just bit crush static noise.
Okay. And then some lasers from you as well. Then I just use them as at my leisure, it seems. These are just random places. And then there's a background effects.
Yep, that's Ivory background effect.
Back at it. And then some more bass jams to add some more flair. So we have like the first half of the job. So it's like the first half itself is divided and is split into two parts. We have basically the convexity only part. They add some more sustains. What is this? It's just a crush copter. It's just LFO noise, I believe.
Similar to the beat tag, except just LFO, yeah.
There it is.
I use that quite a lot too. And it's also in the Devon cartridge.
Doom. So I took the liberty of doing some subglides. Doom, doom, doom. And yeah, that's that. Just make it like just wow. I don't know, roller coaster of intensity there. As for the drums, this is my kick, but this is Convexity snare. So that's your snare. Can you tell us about this, or is this just like a layered snare from somewhere else?
I think it's just that's just some snare I've got somewhere in some pack.
Snare I got somewhere. Checks out.
It kind of sounds like chimey snare-y in nature, but I mean it's just a standard dubstep snare. You can find something that sounds like that pretty much anywhere. I don't remember where I got that particular one from, because this is not written down very well on this particular clip. Sometimes I'll change the.
It is
the
a pretty
names of
meaty
clips,
snare,
and
though.
Sometimes I won't. But I mean, you can meet it up like that with saturation and with transient shaping and all
Definitely.
that stuff. Just your standard dubstep snare is what I was going for. That so I
And
just
then-
found one that I liked, and there.
And
we
then
go.
there's also some more of your hats, which have reverb for some reason. There is. Hats seem to have a bit of an LFO on them.
Yeah,
Seem to have a bit of a really fast
I think that
tremolo in there.
Oh, I did not time stretch them. Oh yeah, it's called fizz. So yeah, I think they are just like really, really fast LFO to kind of make it a bit more fizzy.
And then there's some A5 crashes because of course there are. And then from here on, I basically took the phrase from the pre-drop. Na 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 na.
I do want to comment on this because
Go
there
for it.
was a lot of composition thought that went into this, like the da da da, because yeah, it is descending pretty much almost the whole time. And what's happening here is I don't know what these chords are, or at least I can go look and see how they're written. But I didn't go and be like, okay, for this one note, I'm going to write an F7, 9, 13. And then for this one, I'm going to write an A minor.
I'm gonna add a
whatever.
57th to the.
Yeah, so all I'm thinking of through this particular thing is voice leading. And that's pretty important in classical as well with stuff like counterpoint.
So kind of like making sure each individual voice in the chord has like a melody of its own.
Yeah, pretty much making sure that each voice kind of leads logically and doesn't jump too far.
Right.
So if you basically think of each note as one person's voice, and this is kind of a similar thing with classical as well, just like choir stuff. If you're writing like SATB arrangements, if you think about each line as a person's voice, it's easiest to sing stepwise. Sometimes you can arpeggiate, but a lot of times, if you stick to as stepwise as possible, it will sound logical. This is something that Jacob Collier does a lot. This is something that Anomaly does a lot. Is particularly voice leading and making the different voices as stepwise as possible. And so with the reason that all of these are all crazy chords and stuff is because I would go and look at the bass note. I would start out with a melody, and then I will write a bass line underneath that melody. So I have two voices. I have a bass voice and a melody voice.
Right.
And then I basically think of them. I think of each bass and melody combination like that as the cookie part of an Oreo, and then you're basically filling in the cream of the Oreo.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, actually.
Yeah, so like you start with the two cookies, so that's your bass and your melody, and then you fill in the cream of the Oreo cookie, which is all of your voices in between that make it a chord. And so it's basically like a big reharmonization exercise of like, okay, if I have this bass note, this melody note is the 11th of this bass note, or this is a 9 interval above, or this is a flat 9 above. And so then I can think about which chords are perfect with that interval. So if it's like a flat 9 above, I'll be like, okay, that's a dominant chord. Or if it's a natural 11 above, it's like, okay, that should be a minor. Or if it's a flat 13, okay, that's another dominant, or stuff like that. It's a big reharmonization exercise to where each note is its own chord, and I've been trying to do that a lot more. I mean, I've been doing it a lot recently, and it's super duper fun, and it's basically a way to make something sound extremely complicated without. I mean, it still takes a lot of brain power and a lot of practice to know like what chords are good for which situations and which how to write it to where it sounds logical and sounds cohesive. But it's
I actually
extremely
tried.
fun.
I tried actually to like remake this harmonization. I probably failed miserably, but actually it's not that
It
bad.
sounds pretty good. It sounds good.
So there's this would be like a rough approximation of what you have going on here. So we have D, minor D with a 7th and a 9th. Na, 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 and the 5th is the leading voice. Damn, this is this is something. This is something. So we have.
I mean, like if you look, you see that each note is kind of like you can follow a line across of like
Right,
where
so
that voice is going. That's pretty much the mentality behind voice leading.
So take the top voice and it goes like na 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 na, and then if you take this one, it goes na 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 na, right? And then if you take this one, dun 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 dun. And then if you take this one, it goes na 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 na. And then if you take this one, it goes na 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 na. Which this one would be the bass line. So essentially, if any one of these was the top lead, it would still work, right?
Yep.
And well, this is a C sharp with a diminished 5th and a diminished octave as well. So both a natural and a diminished octave. We got a minor 2nd here, and
you go completely off of vibes for this kind of thing. Like there's some brain power behind it, but it's mostly vibes because like something can seem like a logical chord to go to next, but it just won't sound right. You have to change like one note to where it's like just not even not even a recognized chord or like that sort of thing. Voice leading is super fun. It's super fun to do this. I mean, this is how SATB arrangements for choirs are done. This is how like barbershop quartets are thought of. It's like this particular voice leading thing is super important, like advanced theory concept.
Right, and that's basically how this works. We just have a bunch of layers to support it. We have the Reese here. And then we have this lead. And we have some like add-on notes. Dun, 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 as opposed to just going straight out with the A here.
Love grace notes.
Grace notes, that would be the term. I just like I know what the term is. I know what the term is in Spanish, just not here.
Yep, grace notes. I do grace notes all the time.
And this would basically be the same with a bunch of added layers. There's a chant here. What? I believe I added this myself. Yeah.
That's definitely yours.
What? And then there's this. This is a bass from Val's Galactica. And then this is from the first drop. And then there's the same color ringtone layer from before, and there's a colorized art from Ultranova, I believe. I stretched this a bunch. In harmonic bass. Tape stop also from Ultranova, I believe. And then there's a siren uplifter just to like have a continual sense of tension throughout the drop, just building up. Because we are basically using this part to build up to the part that's going to come after, which is the plink bass thing. And here we start seeing some convexity snares in here, like this one. Yeah. Like what is that there?
That's just let's see, what is that particular one? Yeah, that's a.
You actually answered the question.
Yeah, that's one of the snares from Volume 1.
Right.
Of the snare pack.
And then I just took this hat and made it ultra fast trap style, except it's super fast. Same thing. No. So this is a razor, I believe. Yeah, there's a live razor in here. Reverb, please. There we go. Now, this is, of course, being like modulated. There's an automation here for it. There it is. It's basically going like yow, yow, yow. And then there's some flanged chords. So if I solo the razor would sound like, oh no, that's the super sauce, and this is the razor. That's the razor. The standard modus razor you've all come to know and love. And then the super saws have a bit of a phaser in them. Not actually a phaser, this is a flanger. There it is. Oh well, with the pattern mode, you don't get the movement from the flanger. I'm just automating the delay here. And that is that. Then we just have... We have the lead synth from the first drop doing some higher up tones as well, I think. Dun, 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 dun. So like offbeat call and response stuff. Na, 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 na. The same like hanging chord as in the first drop. We have basically the same cadence. It's the exact same cadence. Only this time we have an ultra stab. I believe this is from No Return Reboot. Only it's super processed. It has a destructor on it for some pretty brutal distortion. Then we have a bit of a high pass because it had some very, very low infra sub frequencies I didn't like. There was a reverb here, which is basically going to come in fully reverbed and it's going to go out. So it comes from a very distant reverbed spot to a drier one. And then we have a bit of a balance here to boost the beginning of the sound. And then we have the leftover reverb from the swells here. Reversed ultra stab. So as you can see, it comes in, the reverb fades out, and then back in. And then we have that same lead. And then we have the start of the show. So if you look at it, it's basically the exact same thing as the same rhythms we had going on in the second half of the first drop. Only it's slower, that's it. And it's with a plink snare as opposed to like a like full-on color-based stab. But it's the same thing. The only thing that changed really is the timing of this. So whereas I could have just done the regular halftime stabs here. So these are 1/16 notes, or these are 1/8. These are 1/8 notes, I believe. Yeah. Oh no, these are triplets. Ba 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 ba. These are triplets. I could have done the same timing here, but that sounded a little bit uninteresting. So it was like, you know what? Let's change things up a little bit, and let's do what I think it was septuplets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, oh no, we did octuplets here, and I offset them just slightly, so it wasn't like fully ba 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 ba, right? So it's more like a slightly displaced beat. Ba 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 bum ba bum ba ba bum, right?
Yeah, that has more of a quint feel to me.
Yeah, so it's like it has like a randomized timing feel to it. It's an 8/3 polyrhythm. You could say, yeah. And this sound is just a snare. This is a convexity snare, only turned into a sound. That is it. So this is snare bunk pop.
Yep, that's from Volume 1. Snare pack.
And I took it, I ran it through some Le Funk. I ran it through some all-pass phase, and a destructor, and a reverb, and an OTT, and another EQ, and an autopan, and a dimension expander, and a crystallizer, and finally a resonator. And so this is basically what gives off the whole like color-based feel to it. Otherwise, it sounds like a snare. That is that. So the source sound goes like this. That's it. But from there we get to this, which I believe is a bit of an improvement. And then we basically have the sub follow the exact same timing as the plink. The same offset nature. Then we have more of the same like call and response layers from the first drop. This already showed up in the first drop. Now it's a little bit more low pass because it has this more like minimal nature to it. This part of the drop. But this has mostly the same or mostly the same timings, the same cadences. That this is the same filler the same filler cadence that was in the second half of the first drop. Only just turned to 128. And for this, I believe I used a slightly different snare. So I switched from bong pop. I used bamboo here. It's basically a slightly different snare ran through the same chain, and it creates a slightly different timbre. And there's a sound here. There's a siren that was called "Run the Trap" for some reason. It is just a siren with a bunch of saturator on it. That's it. And then the drums just. Of course, there is also this is interesting because this is also bamboo. So the same sample is being used at the same time for both the snare and the main sound. So you're hearing the same sound twice, but you would never know because they have two totally different processing chains, and they're being used for different purposes. Right one, as seen in every modus track ever. Shut up. We have some building up layers. It's the same thing. Some sirens. And I had some more of that, of those bass jam fillers. To add some more. This one's especially cool. It's one of my favorites. Oh, whoop! This one actually is doing. This one's actually doing a tritone. This is a G sharp, so it's like na na dun dun dun. So it adds a lot of tension. Keeps building up. There's a big bram for it. Very cinematic end. So it's the same melody, different chords, different context to make it more cadence-ish. And the outro is basically the exact same thing as the intro. The song ends the same way it starts. The only thing is now the Rhodes, the reverb on the Rhodes is going to slowly go out. I don't know if it's here or if it's in the Torberg where it goes out. It's not here. Oh, it actually is. It was just later on. There it is. That's where it goes out in the Pro R, and then I believe the Torberg goes out first. Yeah, it gets automated down ever so slightly until you end up with the fully mono, fully dry sound, and then it ends on that hanging chord, na na na, on that C major, on the so the song really ends on the subtonic, and then comes the best part of the song. It was so cool, in fact, my voice cracked when I introduced it. So this basically, I reversed the Rhodes once again. And then I did the lick with the Rhodes. And then I had Agent sing the lick for me. So I believe he sang a high version and a low version. Oh no, so I pitched this up. Okay, so this is he sang like a lot of takes, many more takes than he needed to do. He sang, each of these is one take. So he sang like 8 or 9 takes for no reason at all. I commend him for that though. So the stretch pro mode in FL Studio is actually pretty impressive because it like sounds fairly natural. Like if you told me that there's a agent singing on a slightly higher octave on just like one octave up, I would maybe 70% believe you. And this is what it sounds without anything. This is the actual raw take. And there. And with the Rode, come on. It's just the greatest lick in existence is right here, these 2 seconds. Man deserves a feature on the song. And that's the end of the song. Yippee! We it only took 2 hours and 15 minutes. My editor's gonna hate me. Because now he has to make a highlight of this. I'm so sorry. Right. So is there anything else you want to point out, or should we just get straight into Q&A / mix and master project? Because yeah, there is still more to this. There's the mix and master project. Once the production is done, there's still one final step to do, and that is the stem mixing and mastering. I did this on my own, but I would like to show you how it's done. Basically, it's just like a very quick explanation. I exported groups of stems, so the instruments, so the bulk of the instruments without the sub, then only the sub. So you have this. This is just the sub. Then you have just the instruments. And then you have only the kick. And then you have the snare. And then you have only the hats. So like the entire hats group. So I basically did groups of stems. Because what I care about is not fine-tuning the individual instruments, because we've already done that in the production stage. So I just want to like finalize in groups the bigger picture, really. So I just want to fine-tune the broad strokes, right? The broader picture, and then there's just the crash. And the first thing before I inserted any effects was to make sure there was no pops in here. So you might have noticed, because of the sidechain timing in FL being ever so slightly off, there are some spots where there's a bit of a pop at the beginning of a beat, right? And I just I felt the need to basically suppress those. There should be some up here. Yeah, there's like a very small one there. I don't know if you can see it. It's just like a single pixel. There it is. You can see that. But that is audible. And that will affect the track. So basically, I'm cutting out these like very small pops at the beginning of some downbeats for basically a just flawless sidechain timing, which is what I'm after. It happened especially with these sounds up here. See that pop? That's basically what I want to cut out. Because without these cuts, the sidechain sounded a little bit more off. Sounded a little something like this. See this cut in here? That's basically what I wanted to suppress. And so I did. I went looking for most instances of this happening in the instruments in the sub, and then on everything else. In the crash, it might have happened a couple times. That's why you're seeing a bunch of cuts. And the gist of it, once it was all said and done, what I did then was just unzoom this, please. All right, let's zoom out a little bit, and let's zoom this out a little bit too. And then once that was all done, I just needed to mix it in some. So if there was any like final EQ that I needed to do, now was the time. And as you can see, it's very, very small details. So here, I made sure on the instruments and the sub buzz, I carved out the fundamental frequency of the kick. So so there was less content of this frequency range of basically just 49 hertz. So the kick could stand out a little bit more. Then I did some glue compression to catch some final peaks, as the preset very appropriately says. There's a soft clip for basically the same purpose, in case there was anything left. I limited the sub itself, so as you can see, I didn't do any maximization on it. I just brought it down, so the sub was basically just one square ass brick, and but that is the easiest way to mix a sub. It's just to have it be as consistent as possible, because if you have big volume differences in your sub, it becomes fairly tricky to mix and have it all very consistent at the perceived level that you want to master for. So there's a kick, snare, hats. In the hats, there's also some peak, catch, compression, and then finally the gist of it is all happening in the master chain. So there is an EQ, basically a manual anti-aliasing, just in case. There's an imager that basically narrows down the low end and a little bit of the mid end. It felt a little bit too wide. And then some Sooth to tame most everything. Very, very slight, as you can see. Basically just a general tame of any frequencies that might want to stand out a little too much. Once again, a broad strokes EQ to bring back some more air into it and remove some boominess in the 100 hertz range. And then multiband dynamics processor, Ozone 9 dynamics, basically to make sure, again, it was all as stable as possible, and it was as easy for me as possible to push this. And then there's a very, very slight destructor for that slight, like, saturated, like, tight and punchy feel. And then finally we have the limiter, which is like on 16 times over sampling, because utmost quality shall prevail. And I just maximized it to a point where I was happy. And then with Pro L2, I did the true peak part of the limiting to minus 0.1 to make sure it didn't clip in the analog domain. I did have to automate the gain somewhat throughout the song, so you will see it is loudest in the drops, right? And then if there's a part that went too overboard, I just like balance that off manually. And that is basically about it. When you measure it in Julian, it basically gives off about -5 to -4 average lufs, which is what I'm happy with. I don't like to push it for that much. And that's about it. So I believe I'm pretty happy with the master that I got for this. And yeah, that's about it for the mixing and mastering project and for the breakdown, really. So yeah, this is going to be the end of the video for those of you watching on YouTube eventually in the future, I guess. So have a good one, enjoy, and we'll see you at a later point in time.